Hi, my name's Leon Rowe, currency trader and trading coach at trading180.com, and welcome to this week's supply and demand Forex technical analysis. Hope you had a great trading week last week. If you didn't, well, this week is an opportunity to make some potential profits. The video is timestamped, and all Forex pairs are timestamped, so if you want to go to your favorite currency pairs, you're more than welcome to, or you can watch the whole video and learn some supply and demand basics, as well as some trade opportunities at certain levels. So getting into the charts this week, we start off on the US dollar index as usual, and the US dollar index is a measure of US dollar strength, right? So let me just delete this. We can use that later. So what we've got is pretty much we've closed above this supply zone here, but then closed back within this supply zone. So I'm going to keep the supply zone here, as this is potentially just this could be a stop hunt. But with dollar strength fundamentally, we are, but the Federal Reserve, raised interest rates, so some good, news this last week. Non-farms weren't necessarily fantastic, but you had decent unemployment, and also I think the average hourly earnings were as as expected. So we had a bit of a sell-off, from Thursday, Friday. So this could be just some profit taking or a stop hunt. We don't know. But if you, feel fundamentally and sentiment-wise that this is potentially a sell, so what we wouldn't be doing is necessarily selling, the Dow Jones Dollar Index. What we'd be looking for is dollar Forex pairs, and looking to sell the dollar on those currency pairs based off of the Dow Jones Dollar Index as some confluence, it being in a supply zone, right? If you're looking for any kind of demand, really your only demand is all the way down here. Unlikely that it will reach all the way down here this week, but you never know. Anything can happen in the Forex markets. If we do get higher highs being made, so if you zoom out a little bit, or matter of fact, let me just see if I can pull this down a little bit. We've got a supply zone above, but if we do get something like this week, bullish candles above, then this becomes a demand zone, and then we can get rid of this supply zone, and then we're waiting for a trade to come back down into this demand zone that is created before looking at getting long, right? So at the moment, nearest demand zone is going to be pretty much all the way down here, unless we create a higher high, or what we could do is create lower highs, lower lows, and if prices break higher, then we would expect this area to be a decent area, strong area of demand as well. So that's two ways of basically playing it. We have to be patient if you're looking to buy the dollar, right? If you're looking to sell the dollar, now is an opportunity based off of some dollar currency pairs, if they are also at supply or demand zones. So moving on to the dollar yen. And the dollar yen, what we have here is we are into this supply zone from way back when, so way back here, right? And so potentially, if we see a sell-off on the dollar index, then we could be seeing a bit of a sell-off basically into this supply zone. But what I'm going to do with this supply zone is going to make it slightly smaller. Right, it's more the fresher area of supply as we've reached the top, and what we want to see, or what we've got, is an area of demand, which is right here. So what we could see now at the moment is this area being an area of demand. And if you don't know why this is going to be an area of demand, you can watch several videos I have on my YouTube channel. The introduction into supply and demand will explain why higher highs and higher lows are the strongest areas of demand. You know, from a logical perspective, and some other videos on the channel, so please check those out, as well as the new fundamental, my take on fundamentals and why you should be trading fundamentals as well as technical analysis to give you an extra edge if you're struggling with just, you know, making a profit on technicals and wondering why levels of supply and demand don't always work, as well as obviously levels of support and resistance, right? So I don't trade every single level of supply and demand. I just look for the fundamentals first, and then that gives me my bias on which pairs I want to be buying and selling. So if I believe that the dollar is going to get stronger based on fundamentals, right, then this is going to be the first area. Sorry, got a bit of a cold. Then this is the first area on a lower time frame that I'll be looking to get long. So I go down into, you know, lower time frame, like the 4 hour. Don't really trade anything lower than the 4 hour, rarely anyway. And then I'm looking for an entry, reason to enter, you know, around here, right? So looking to trade this potentially up to the top. So if this was, you know, my entry potentially, let's say if it's not, but if this was an entry, you know, stop probably just below the low and potentially trade it up to the highs, you know, giving me a potential, you know, 3-to-1 type trade. But that's pretty much obviously how you look at it. And obviously you got the supply and demand technical analysis basics, right? And again, I've got a video on willing supply and willing demand and determining the supply and demand equation, so buy and sell orders, right? If you watch that video, I go into some detail on how to trade horizontal resistance, diagonal resistance, and dynamic support and resistance within these supply zones. So we determine value first, right, from supply and demand zones, and then we look to apply the supply and demand equation from a willing supply, willing demand, or forced supply and forced demand equation from a technical perspective, from these horizontal, diagonal, and dynamic support and resistance levels that coincide with demand or supply, and then we look to take some trades if we have you know, more supply or more demand than supply after we've done this analysis. And if you want to know more about supply and demand, I have a supply and demand course as well on the website, which goes into about 7 hours of supply and demand principles. So yeah, we've got an opportunity this week to get long, right? So apply your supply and demand basics principles. For example, you've got at the moment horizontal support and resistance would be something like this, right, where you've got resistance, support, bit of support right at the moment. So you've got traders that are going to be looking to enter on support and resistance within this value area of demand here, and then you would do the same thing with some finding diagonal support and resistance or support in this area if there is any, and some dynamic support and resistance, 2150, 100 and 200 EMA SMA on the daily, by the way, and not the intraday time frame charts. I use the daily moving averages just for some dynamic support and resistance, right? If you're looking to sell and get short at the moment, even though we do have this area of supply coming in, overall from a larger range, we could see prices obviously move up, right? Fundamentally, I personally am not looking to get, you know, short on the dollar versus the yen, even though the yen is a risk currency pair, meaning that when risk is off, it benefits over the dollar. But if you feel that, you know, just technically this is a decent area to try to look to get, you know, short some sort of double top pattern, then this is going to be your reason to but your area, price area, the 11450 area, to try and look for shorting opportunities this week, right? And again, if you're looking to get long, if this doesn't succeed, then it's going to be the next area to try and look to get long. Moving on to the dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss, last week I did go over why this area technically is a decent area to try and look to get short, but I also said from a fundamental perspective I would not be getting entering on this trade because really the Swiss National Bank would be looking to weaken their currency, and the dollar Federal Reserve looking to strengthen their currency. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of traders do fail. They see a technical setup and then look to, you know, get short based on the technicals, when really and truly it's a trade that they shouldn't be trading, even if you know, prices were to go down. Doesn't really matter. What you're looking to always do as a trader within any market is look for value, right? You're looking to establish why the Swiss franc is undervalued at this area, and if you don't believe it's undervalued at this area, then you shouldn't be taking the trade just based off of you know, technicals can't tell you that. Basically, technicals can't tell you whether something is undervalued or overvalued. Yeah, you have stochastics and you have you know, RSIs, but they don't tell you. It's based on price and not really what's going on behind the price chart. But getting back to the technicals, you would have seen probably a lot of traders looking to get short around this area. Support and resistance traders, diagonal resistance traders would have been getting in short here. You can see obviously prices went higher, and if you want to check out that video as well, I think that was Tuesday's video where I went over it. So have a look at my analysis and obviously the reasons why I didn't take that trade, even though it was quite a good setup. But from a selling perspective, again, right now you could take advantage of some profit taking. There's a pin bar here, and there could potentially be some profit taking, meaning that supply is coming into this price level. We could see a sell-off, but I'll be waiting for a buy trade, and really the only kind of buy trade that I'm probably looking for would be, and it hasn't really created anything until probably down here. We've got some hidden demand right there. So again, I'd have to be patient, right? And looking, actually, matter of fact, let me get rid of this. Right. So you're waiting for, again, either lower highs, lower lows to be made, then a move up, and then a move down. And what this is doing is basically proving where demand is for this currency pair, right? And then potential value before looking at you know, a retrace. Or what we're looking for is just put in a negative candle, so negative but a bearish candle. If prices start to make their way higher, right, like that, then this area becomes an area of demand. So be looking for price to come back into this area before looking at getting long. And again, I you know, if you're not too sure as to what I'm talking about, please watch the introduction into supply and demand, right? And you'll understand my reasonings for higher highs, higher lows being the strongest areas of supply and demand, and lower highs and lower lows, right? But that hasn't happened yet. So at the moment, shorting opportunity on the Swiss franc anywhere around here. If you believe that the Swiss franc is going to get stronger, and there's going to be some probably potential profit taking on the dollar. If you're looking for a pullback, then we're waiting for these types of scenarios to occur within the market. Moving on to the dollar CAD. Dollar CAD has come down into this this demand zone. I think I did point out last week. Maybe I did it in the private group, but I'm sure I did it last week, where I was saying that this area here, round number, this 1.28 round number, was a zone, say a zone, but an area to look for buy trades within the this demand zone. And if you took this trade, well done. So what you'd be looking at right now is probably some sort of pullback into this area before looking to get long, right? And then if you're looking to get short, this is going to be the first area to look for a short trade, right? And we can see we've already developed, you know, some what traders would call resistance within this supply zone. So if you think the CAD's going to get stronger, short trade. If you're looking for a dollar retracement, try buy a dollar at a bargain price, then you're looking at, you know, this area right here. Moving on to the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, and again with a weak New Zealand dollar, why you would be buying the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar is anybody's guess. So hopefully you did not take this. Again, I'm not a financial advisor though. Can't tell you what to trade and what direction to trade, but again, just from fundamentals, the dollar was always going to be, you know, the winner. You may have tried to take advantage of some profit taking around here, but it's never, you know, the best trade to take profit taking trades. It's best to just wait for a pullback if you can, right? Even if it means sitting on your hands for, you know, a couple of days, even a week or so. You know, for the right opportunity, as we're in the market to make profit and not for, you know, activity and to, you know, for those you know, for excitement or anything like that. We're not, you know, gambling. We're managing risk, and we want to take the best trades possible. So as you can see, prices went through those demand zones. We're down into this larger demand zone, and this demand zone was back in 2016. So I'd probably say that traders would be looking at this area as an area of potential value, quite a large one. So again, when you have a large zone like this, just apply the supply and demand order equation if you have any potential support and resistance zones within this area. Or what you can do is just wait for prices to prove that there is some demand here, and then look for, you know, a pullback into that area before looking to get long, right? So you're looking for prices to probably, you know, do something, make higher highs, higher lows before looking to establish any type of long positions, right? If you want to buy the New Zealand dollar, I think it's a bargain down here against the US dollar. If you're looking at buying the US dollar, then nearest opportunity to do that would be around here. So you'd have to wait for really prices to, you know, either come up all the way up here, sorry, so up all the way up here before looking to get short, or what you'd be looking for is for something like this, higher highs, higher lows, and then prices to pull back. Then what you probably want to see is something like this, prices to come back up to this demand zone, prove this is supply zone, prove that it is by price action and what price action does from there, wait for price to come back up, and then look to sell when prices come back up to this supply zone here, right? Or if this scenario actually plays out, right? So those are your options for this week. If you are looking to buy the New Zealand dollar, I wouldn't look to catch what they say a falling knife just yet. Look to, you know, buy or anything like that. Let the market show you that there is at least some demand here before you know, looking to get long. Moving on to the pound dollar. So the pound dollar, we reacted off of this demand zone here, and now we're up into supply. So if you're looking to get short and you feel that the US dollar is going to get stronger against the pound, this is probably the area you're looking for. One thing I would say about the pound is really to be wary of the pound, as there's a lot of volatility coming into the market, and there's going to be a lot of volatility coming into the market up until probably there's some sort of deal arranged regarding Brexit, and you know, it's it's going to be difficult to trade the pound simply because it's more sentiment driven and risk driven. So somebody, you know, from Europe, or, you know, Theresa May could come out and say something, and then all of a sudden, you know, prices could just shoot down or could just shoot straight up. So just again, I'm going to be probably repeating myself over the next couple of months. Just be careful when trading the pound. I wouldn't say not to trade the pound, but maybe lower your risk a little bit. You know, maybe go in half positions rather than full positions on the pound, because there is going to be a lot of volatility, a lot of opportunity to make money, but a lot of you know, volatility and more sentiment driven market behavior rather than fundamental driven market behavior. So your options for this week are going to be, if prices do come up around here or even higher around here, which I'd probably prefer, as you've got a clearer area of what we would term support and resistance. So you can see there's this area here. It's a bit wide, but you've got, you know, some support, resistance. So anywhere, and again, it's proven that we've got resistance within this supply zone. So not only do you have potential value for the dollar, you also have you know, support and resistance, horizontal support and resistance traders looking to, you know, get in at this area here, right? Doesn't mean that there isn't an opportunity around this area here, but it's not as clear. I'm not really clear on this, but again, depending on what happens this week, news, sentiment, if there is an entry, maybe just take a smaller entry around this 1.32 round number, as markets like to, you know, react to round numbers. Looking at the pound yen, we do have we are into an area where we have, you know, supply, resistance, touched it a few times. So potentially this is an area to try and look to get short, or we could look to get long, right, around here. And again, if you zoom down into maybe a lower time frame, you can see that we've started to enter into what is known as a ranging market, or price acceptance between, you know, this high and this low. So demand, obviously, this is an expensive area and this is a cheap area. As you can see, you know, the buyers are looking at this 147.5 level as a bargain area. You can see prices going higher, but they're not looking to, when I say they, bargain hunters are not looking to basically pay the exchange rate for the pound yen more than 149.70 at the moment. So this is pretty much the two areas that you're looking to get, you know, long or short in from a supply and demand perspective. Always look for a bargain. If you feel that the pound is a bargain down here, then be a buyer. If you think the yen is a bargain up here, then be a seller. Moving on to the pound Swiss. The pound Swiss, you can see the Swiss is just weakened and weakened and weakened. We are up into the daily chart a supply zone here. So if we do see some, you know, lower time frame price action that indicates that this is potential profit taking here, right, then you may want to look to get short at these levels, right? Your next long opportunity to buy the pound against the Swiss is going to be around here. I'll turn that into demand, right? So you've got that area, you've got this area. If prices do pull back, it's going to be your first area to try to look to get long. Moving on to the euro dollar, and the euro dollar, we did break through this demand zone, but we also have created some hidden demand right here. Sorry, hidden supply. Supply zone here. right? And then we've bounced off the underside of that. If this week prices do come up higher into this zone, maybe even around the 1.16 area, and get some decent price action, look for shorting opportunity within this supply zone. This will be a decent area as well. From support and resistance, you've got an area where traders are looking at this area, bounce 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Quite clear, you know, that this is going to be your traders going to be entering around here. So it looks like a decent opportunity to get short around here. If you're looking to get long on the euro, then you'd be looking for really prices to come all the way down here before looking at a long trade, right? Moving on to the euro yen. Again, this was trade opportunity I highlighted this week, where you had horizontal and diagonal support in this area, but also highlighted that there was a fundamental reasons why you know what you should be looking out for when it comes to the euro. Obviously, Italian budget is a major problem for Europe, and any risks that occur within any kind of with any country and an economy, the Japanese yen will tend to benefit from a risk-off sentiment. So while it was a decent setup from the technical side, fundamentally you had to be kind of very wary of taking this trade. And again, if you want to have a look at the analysis for this trade this week, just look at last week's video on the euro yen setup. So this is still in play, as we do have if we zoom out a little bit, right? So this is still in play, as we haven't really broken any areas of key areas of really the support area here, but then we have this deeper demand zone here anyway. So if we look to potentially the structure here around there, yeah, you do have what I'd consider some support and resistance. So you got some support there, support there, support there, support there, resistance, bit of support and resistance here. Then you've got it right here. So the lower end, if this area doesn't necessarily hold, then if you do want to get long on the euro and trade this currency pair, then the lower end of this demand zone is potentially your next entry if this doesn't work out to get long. We've obviously got your longs here. This would end up turning into a short trade, right? As far as supply zone, I should say, not necessarily a short trade, but it's turned into a supply zone if we make lower lows, clear lower lows, and then you put in for a pullback into this area here before looking to get short, right? So we're price to come back up if this makes clear lower lows, and then wait for prices to do that. So and again, to every single demand zone, what you want to do is apply the supply and demand order equation, right? And watch the supply and demand order equation video that I created for you this week if you want to know a bit more about that. Euro pound. So euro pound, the euro's got weaker or the pound has strengthened. Come through these two demand zones, so we can take that off. And we have created a supply zone. So if we do see a turnaround this week and you do want to continue getting short, you're waiting for a pullback into that supply zone right here. If you're looking to get long, this area is very choppy. There is demand here, obviously, because it's been proven that there's demand at this level, right, in the past. So potentially we could have obviously a reaction around here. But again, the euro pound is going to be very volatile, extremely volatile. So just again, if you're trading this currency pair, if I was trading this currency pair, then I would be, risking half or even a quarter of my position. But from a trade level setup perspective, it's not the clearest. It's really not the clearest. There is a level here. We got support, bit of support, bit of support, some more again, bit of resistance, support around here. So potentially around this lower end of this supply zone. What I will do is I'll add a few more demand zones in this area. So you've got that area there, demand, and then you've got probably there as well, right? So I would say that's pretty much where you're looking at the moment for demand zones, and again supply zones you're looking at anywhere around here. Moving on to the Euro Swiss, and the Euro Swiss, we've come up into this supply zone here. Now we could see a bit of a sell-off if the Swiss franc starts getting stronger or the euro starts getting weaker. From a demand perspective, we do have a demand zone here, but it's not I would say it's not a great demand zone. It's a demand zone, but we've barely just made higher highs here. So, and really it's quite close, but yeah, demand zone nevertheless, right? And what you'd be looking for again within this zone is you've got some support and resistance. So you've got resistance, 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 support, support, bit of support again. So in this area, technically is okay for a intraday, buy. If you're looking to sell again, probably be around here, or you've got a level further up, right? Moving on to the Euro Australian dollar. Now, Euro Aussie, we have prices have really come up into this higher area of supply, which I always like to just delete this. I've got more space. I like trades like this for various reasons, but if you are thinking that the euro is going to get weaker against the Australian dollar now, he's looking for probably some price action, to the downside, some bearish price action on a lower time frame chart before looking to get short. Let's just delete this one. Then if you're looking to get long, let me change this demand zone here to here. So it's between that supply and that demand zone right here. So right now we do have from a location perspective, I like this location, but again, you have to do your research on whether you feel the Australian dollar should potentially get stronger, right? And if you do, right, feel that the Australian dollar is going to get stronger, then really the trade is to try and trade it all the way down to the bottom, so or at least fair value. So you'd be looking at a lower time frame, looking to place your stop above potentially the highs before looking at trading it down to potentially the lows, which is 5 to 1 or thereabouts trade, depending on where you get in to the downside. So I like trades like this at the top of ranges, right, which is normally at supply, well, it usually is at supply and demand zones, and then you just trade them down to either fair value, which is halfway between an expensive and a cheap area, right, or you can trade it down to the lower side of the range. So moving on to the Australian dollar, US dollar, and Aussie, a bit weak against the dollar. The dollar is just increasing in strength at the moment. So here's going to be your supply zone. In fact, it's from here. Here's your supply zone. Supply, and if we're looking at, again, any pullbacks, it's going to be a first area, or unless prices do create some sort of higher highs, higher lows, then break that, as we've gone over in the past for other pairs. At the moment, again, this has been a demand zone from 2016. So what I would do is wait for demand to actually occur within this zone, right? The market to show you that there is some sort of demand, and then potentially look to buy. This is where you don't really want to be, looking to try to pick the bottom just because we're in a demand zone or we're at a round number, right? Wait for the market to show you that there is some demand there, and there is potentially some value, and then it could be value in the future. And we have the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. I do like this setup, right? Well, this area, price coming back into this area to look for a buy trade, right? So if there's some decent price action, then I may look to get long. We've come down into this 0.8 round number as well. Yeah, decent. If not, then this would be the next best area into the 79 area, 79.50, 78s around here, right? If you zoom out a little bit, is there any last really area of demand was back in, again, 2016, but we've got demand here. Obviously, prices, the Australian dollars proved to be a potential bargain around here, but just keep in mind as well that the Australian dollar Japanese yen pair is a measure of potential risk within the market, meaning that if risk is on, we're in a risk on environment, everything is all good, then the Australian dollar should benefit. If we are in if there's some turmoil in the markets, for example, we have the tariff, Trump wars, trade wars going on, and obviously some euro risks then, and the market perceives that as a risk-off environment, then the Japanese yen is going to strengthen. So this won't be necessarily the best trade to take, right? But we do have as well another bit of supply right here, right, which has been created. So if you did take this last week, well done to you. If you're looking to, again, short the Australian dollar, then you're waiting for price to come back up into here, or for lower highs and lower lows to be made, and then you're trading at those lower highs, lower lows if prices do come up into that area. So that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the analysis. If you do want to know more about supply and demand, there is a course on the Trading 180 website. The link is in the description box below. I go over at least, I think it's roughly about 7 hours or thereabouts of material, everything I know about supply and demand, and you'll get access to some mentoring by myself, as well as weekly analysis on about 30 currency pairs as well, on the inner circle, if you want to call it an inner circle of trading traders that I mentor. So check it out if you're interested. You can send me an email. We can probably chat on Skype just beforehand. You can ask me any questions. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you have a great trading week, and take care. So if you'd like to receive the best supply and demand Forex levels absolutely free, click on the link in the description box below, enter your email address, and we'll send you the levels that we have just analyzed in this video. You'll get all of the major Forex currency pairs, and you'll get regular updates and never miss a Forex trading opportunity.